All right, today we are diving into a book that, for decades, has totally shaken up how people think about money. We're talking about Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's built on this really simple but powerful idea that just flips conventional wisdom on its head. So in the next few minutes, we're going to break down the key lessons that made this book an absolute global sensation. At its core, the book is really arguing for one huge idea. Your financial education is so much more valuable than how much money you actually earn. So let's jump right into the lessons. So the real power of this book comes from the author Robert Kiyosaki's super unique childhood. See, he had two fathers, his actual dad, who he calls Poor Dad, and his best friend's father, who he calls Rich Dad. Now, both of these guys were successful in their own right, but their advice on money and life couldn't have been more different. And this contrast is everything. Poor Dad, he was highly educated, really valued job security, and he'd often say things like, "I'll never be rich." But Rich Dad, he was a high school dropout who built an empire, and he saw the world in a completely different way. He'd say, there's a difference between being poor and being broke. Broke is temporary, but poor is eternal. And it was these two totally opposite mindsets that shaped everything Kiyosaki grew to believe. This brings us to the first major lesson, and trust me, it's a big one. It challenges the whole idea of just working hard for a paycheck. So most people get stuck in what Rich Dad called the rat race. You know the drill. Get a job, get paid, pay your bills, and just repeat that cycle over and over. He taught that this is a total trap. The real goal isn't just to make more money from your job, it's to make your money start working for you. Kiyosaki actually learned this when he was just 9 years old, working for only 10 cents an hour. And when he complained about how low the pay was, Rich Dad let him in on the real lesson. The job wasn't about making him rich, it was about treating his mind to see opportunities all around him. Because your mind, not your paycheck, is your number one most powerful wealth-building asset. Okay, this brings us to what a lot of people think is the single most important lesson in the entire book. It's the absolute foundation of financial literacy. This is rule number 1. According to Rich Dad, if you get this and you actually apply it, you're on your way to wealth. But if you don't, you're pretty much guaranteed to struggle with money your whole life. It sounds so simple, right? But it's also profoundly misunderstood. That's it. Seriously, no complicated financial jargon. An asset is just something that generates income for you. Think about things like a rental property, or stocks that pay you dividends, or a business that runs without you having to be there every single day. And here's the other side of that coin. A liability costs you money. This is your car loans, your credit card debt. The big problem is that so many people buy liabilities thinking they're buying assets. And the most controversial example from the book is your own house. Just understanding this one distinction completely changes the way money moves through your life. But how? Let's take a look at it visually. Okay, here you can see the two patterns in action. For most people, the poor and the middle class, income comes in from a job and then flows right back out to cover all their expenses and liabilities. It's an in and out game. But for the rich, the pattern is totally different. They use their income to buy assets, and then those assets generate even more income, which creates this powerful, self-sustaining cycle of wealth that just keeps growing. So if buying assets is the name of the game, where should you really be focusing your energy? Well, that takes us right to lesson number 3, mind your own business. Rich Dad's point here is that most people confuse their profession with their business. See, your profession is what you do to pay the bills. Your business, that's your asset column. The problem is, most people spend their entire lives building up someone else's business, their employers, instead of building their own. Now, to explain this a little bit better, Kiyosaki created what he calls the cash flow quadrant. It's a really simple but powerful framework for understanding where your income is coming from and what that actually means for your financial future. Okay, here's the breakdown. On the left side, you got E for employee. You have a job. And S for self-employed, which means you own a job. This side is all about security, but you're trading your time for money. That's the path Poor Dad recommended. But Rich Dad, he pointed to the right side for true freedom. B for business owner, where you own a system that works for you, and I for investor, where your money works for you. The big goal here is to move from the left side to the right side. So, what ties all of these lessons together? Well, the final and maybe the most critical idea is all about the power that you already have right now. The book really argues that being financially intelligent isn't about being some kind of genius. It's just about having more options. Financial education gives you the power to see choices that other people miss, and of course, the knowledge to choose wisely. This right here is probably the most empowering and provocative idea in the entire book. Your financial destiny, it's not decided by your paycheck. It's decided by what you choose to do with that paycheck. Every single dollar you have is like a little vote for the kind of future you want to create. So, what's the path forward from here? Well, Kiyosaki kind of boils it down to 3 simple steps. Number 1, invest in your mind. Educate yourself. Number 2, use that knowledge to start acquiring assets, even if you're starting small. And number 3, never, ever forget that the power to choose your financial future is in your hands. Look, the world of assets is huge. We're talking real estate, stocks, businesses, you name it. And we really want to hear from you. What's the one asset class you're most curious about? Drop your answer down in the comments, and hey, don't forget to subscribe for more explainers and big ideas like this one. Thanks for tuning in.